Hi, this is Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz from Breaking Israel News. I'm sorry, from Israel365 News that used to be breakingisraelnews.com. I'm here with Rachel Schwartz. We're here to discuss that on December 21st, which is the winter solstice, there's going to be Jupiter and Saturn are going to be very near to each other in the sky. And that's a very rare convergence, a very rare event. And Rachel is going to help us understand what this might mean from an astrological point of view. And I want to say, strictly speaking, an Orthodox Jewish astrological point of view, and
Yeah,
and not a, God forbid, unholy source. So,
yes.
Rachel, I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell us what this is all about.
Hi, guys. My name is Rachel Schwartz, and I'm a Kabbalistic astrologer. I've been doing it for about 20 years now. And one of the things that I actually want to make clear from the beginning is that a lot of times when, even if you're religious or you have some kind of a religious connection, you'll feel many times that astrology is not for you. It's either not for the Jews or generally not for people that believe in any religious method, any religion in the world. So I want actually to start by explaining that it's true. You're right. If you look at astrology as an idol worshiper, which means the stars tell us that, and that's what we are, or because I was born under a certain influence, what can I do? I'm controlling because I was born under the sign of Scorpio. No, that's where we need to understand that really, and Mazal Israel, which means there's no sign, the signs are not relevant to whoever is related to the energy of Israel. Israel is not only about the Jews, it's about people that are connected to a certain consciousness. It's true that there's no sign for us because at the end of the day, the work is to be above the influence of the signs, above the influence of the stars. And one of the things that is actually really important to know in order for us to be above the influence is what is the influence? Because if I don't know what's the energy that is available, how would I know to be above it? How would I know to extract from it what's good? And really, one of the things that I want to tell everybody that maybe thinks that, as you said, it's the not holy side or astrology is an unholy thing. And I'm sure some of you heard that the Rambam many years ago said that it's better not to look into astrology. So I'll explain that too. First of all, Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was a very famous, like really the highest soul that ever existed in Judaism, a person that not only brought many students, he brought many spiritual and religious laws. He used to go to an astrologer. And there's a very famous story about him that in the night of his daughter's wedding, an astrologer told him that she's gonna die, that night his daughter is gonna die. In the morning, they all wake up. Rabbi Akiva is expecting to hear bad news, and his daughter comes downstairs to eat breakfast with everybody. Rabbi Akiva says to her, "What happened? What did you do?" And she says, "What do you mean?" He says, "I have to check something." They go next to her bed and they see that with her hairpin, she killed a snake that was in the wall. He said, "Did you see that?" She said, "No." He says, "You just saved your life. What did you do?" And the story goes that she says, it was my wedding night. Religious people fast on the day of their wedding. She was fasting the whole day. And finally, when it was the time for her to eat her meal, came a poor man and he was hungry. So the bride handed him her own food. And what Rabbi Akiva said, by you doing that, you went above the influence of the stars. And this is what it's about. We have the ability, by understanding that influence and by going against our nature, by going against our automatic behavior, to be above the influence. And that's how we need to see it. We cannot be idol worshippers. You know, עובדי כוכבים ומזלות means people that just worship the planets. It's not what we do. So that's the first thing that we all have to understand. I want to talk a little bit about what's coming up because it is a very rare event, as you mentioned. And you know, the conjunction, that closeness actually happens every 19 to 20 years. That's not as rare. But the fact that it's in the sign Aquarius, first of all, that didn't happen in an air sign for many, many years. But besides that, it's exactly what you said. The conjunction is going to be so close that it's going to look like one star to us. It's going to be big and really bright, and we're going to be able to actually see it. But what is it about? Aquarius. Aquarius is connected actually to the age of Aquarius. It's the Idan, it's the time of Mashiach. And we know that the whole understanding behind that time, the time of Mashiach, is that we have two paths that we can go to. There's the path that is the path of Oi, and there's the path that is the path of Ashrei. Some people will call it the Armageddon war, right? Har Megiddo, which is the time that a lot of things can happen. But they're actually showing that the redemption is coming. And what is the redemption? The redemption is not about a person that comes in a white donkey. Mashiach is not about a person. It's about a consciousness. And the consciousness that we're headed towards is actually the consciousness of Aquarius. What is that energy? Aquarius, first of all, is not related to the limitations of the physical reality, which means that if we look at this period, we can see it's not normal, and it's becoming more and more not normal. It's not only COVID, it's many different things, and the extremes are strong. Some people that suffer even more than ever, and some people that enjoy or get elevated are more elevated than ever. The world is awakening to a very high spiritual place, but it's becoming more and more extreme. And the age of Aquarius represents a time that the first thing is that we're going to learn that there's no such a thing as only me. It's about me. It's about what's good for me, what's comfortable for me, what's nice for me. It's not about that anymore. Aquarius is actually about putting myself or my needs or my ego secondary to the benefit of society, to the benefit of everybody around me. Again, what does it mean? That I'm going to diminish myself? That I'm not important? Opposite. When I understand that I'm one of the whole, we're all one. The illusion is that we're separated. You know that Abraham, the patriarch, which by the way was an astrologer, but Abraham, the patriarch, it says that he understood that there's one God. Right? His father was an idol worshiper. He understood that there is one God. But we need to make it more accurate. He understood that God is one, which means that there's oneness, that we're all part of the same one. That the fact that it looks like you're in Israel right now and I'm here. Yes, physically it's true. But that separation, or when we look at anybody else as separated from me, that's an illusion. When I don't care about somebody else, because they're not me, they're not mine, they're not one of us. I connect to the illusion. I connect to the separation. The understanding of the oneness is to understand that we are all part of God, all of us. Whatever happens in our lives, if I'm upset with somebody, it's just an opportunity for me to learn something. Every situation that happens in our lives has to do actually with our consciousness. If we take it to a place of blame or hatred or separation, we're actually disconnecting from the energy of the Creator, because the Creator is only about love and unity and care. And in this generation, when we understand that it's like we're both on a boat right now, and I say, listen, I'm just drilling a hole on my side of the boat. You do whatever you want, but I'm gonna cause your pain too. And the same opposite, if I say, I don't care, he can drill a hole in his part of the boat and it's completely okay. When you're in pain, eventually it will affect me. And the whole thing with the internet and social media, that yes, can be taken to the wrong place. At the end of the day, there's something there also that brings energy of unity. It brings energy of consciousness that we're all one. I live in the US, my family, my parents and my siblings and their children, they all live in Israel. I talk to them all the time like they're here.
It also causes polarization.
Yes.
At the same time.
Right. And the thing is that when we talk about extreme, or we talk about like actually more sense on one hand of unity, and on the other hand, sense of the illusion, right? Because we're not really connecting to people many times. We need to understand that everything that is given to us is a tool that we can use, either for good or, God forbid, for bad.
So if I could ask you a question, Rachel, you referred to us as being in the age of Aquarius, which is, you said, the age of Mashiach.
Yes.
What exactly do you mean by the age of Aquarius? What is the age of Aquarius?
Well, the age of Aquarius basically means that the consciousness is going to be the one that is more and more going to be clear to control the reality. What does it mean? That a lot of times we can be in situations of chaos, of difficulty. And what are we going to say? It fell on me. I'm out of control. We don't see the Siba and the Mesra, we don't see the source or the cause and the effect. And in the age of Aquarius, the cause and the effect are going to be much clearer, which means that we're going to understand that nothing happens in my life without a consciousness before that, without a thought before that. You know that even when you look at Gog and Magog, the war of the end of time, which is the energy of now, Gog and Magog, Kabbalah explains that it has to do with Hagig, which is thought. It's thought. The war of our generations, our generation, is a war of thought. It's a war of consciousness. And yes, even if we see things like COVID and we deal with things that are physical, at the end of the day, fear and many of the other bad feelings, negative, where do they start? In the consciousness. And the age of Aquarius is an age that the world is going to be separated. The people that are understanding that are getting it, that I can choose my reality based on what I think. So if I think about certain things, let's say with the situation now, right? I can believe that during COVID, I'm going to be in chaos. Things can be horrible for me. Or I can believe opposite.
So the age of Aquarius is an era. It's a long period of time that we're coming into, which actually makes sense because I don't think that every generation says this, but what we've seen in the last 50 years or even 30 years, there's never been an era where things have moved forward. The thought process has come into reality so much, so
Right.
powerfully and so fast.
Right.
So
And when you think about it, that the war of Gog and Magog, the Armageddon war, right? It's actually a war of thoughts, a war of consciousness. It's where we're going to be with our consciousness. The understanding that what is Aquarius? Aquarius is our people. If you know an Aquarius in your life, they'll come up with those craziest ideas, and they have a very open mind. And many times, you know,
so what you're saying is Gog and Magog, it's not just a matter of who shows up with the biggest tanks or the strongest airplanes. Gog and Magog, it goes way beyond that, is what you're saying.
It's opposite, in fact.
So that's why we go into this world of thought before Gog and Magog.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we need to get to the point that each and every one of us controls our own thoughts, which means that we first take full responsibility. You know, those two planets right now are conjuncting in Capricorn. They're not as close yet. By the 21st, they're going to be completely conjunct, but right now it's in Capricorn. We are still in a time that we need to take responsibility. We cannot blame anyone for anything. Right now, the consciousness right before we move to the Aquarius energy is complete responsibility. Whatever happens in my life, I create it. It's not about guilt. It's not about blaming myself. It's just about understanding that that's exactly what happened because of my consciousness. And that's what I need. That was the manifestation to teach me something. It's never really about anything outside of me when it comes to my consciousness or why things are happening. At the end of the day, it's all inside us. Even when things happen on the outside, I have the ability, and as you said, even in the past 10 years, how much technology had progressed, how much, right? Because it's going more to the level of the head. But again, in order for us to really make sure that we don't have the chaos in our lives, we need to understand that at the end is about the Aquarius, which is not about me also. It's not about just me and what's good for me and what's comfortable and how much money I'm going to make and how much, everything that they do. And it's funny, I mean, I know you're going to talk about Kochav Yaakov, but I'm not going to go into it, but I want to mention one thing about it. You know that according to Kabbalah, Yaakov represents the central column energy, the energy of balance. Avraham is chesed l'Avraham. Yitzchak is gvura, which is judgment. Avraham is mercy. Yaakov represents the balance between the two of them. And how do you balance? Avraham, which is chesed, was all about sharing. Yitzchak represents, again, receiving, which is gvura. And Yaakov represents the energy of receiving in order to share. Which means that if I am receiving and I'm constantly going to share it with other people, I'm always going to be full. I'm always going to receive and share. I'm never going to be lacking. But if I want to receive just for me, I'm going to create a blockage. If I just think I can give, but I don't want anything, it's also not the right thing. The energy of the balance is to receive, but in order to share. So whatever I do in my life, my consciousness needs to be that, yeah, I want, but eventually I want to benefit the whole world and or my society or my whatever is in my close or social, connection. If I think this way, I'm already in the consciousness of Mashiach.
I have a quick question. The two planets are Saturn and Jupiter.
Right.
Jupiter is actually called, in Hebrew, it's called Tzedek, I believe.
Right.
and Saturn is called Shabtai. Do they signify something? Do they mean something?
Absolutely.
Okay.
First of all, Saturn represents the energy of the physical worlds, the physical manifestations. Saturn, the Shabbat, Saturday is Saturn day. Every day is related to those planets. So for when you look at Shabbat which is the number 7, is related to what we call the energy of Malchut, the energy of the physical reality. Nothing starts physical. Nothing starts. I don't just go outside and all of a sudden I see a tree in my backyard, right? It had to start with something. It had to start with seed. When we see Saturn already, Saturn represents that we're in a time of manifestation, okay? Saturn does represent responsibility, and it represents also limitation, okay? Again, we don't need to take it to the negative place of it, but if many times when somebody in their chart has Saturn in a strong place, it means that that area will be experiencing some limitation. Why? Because they need to take responsibility, okay? That's Saturn energy. Jupiter, which is tzedek, absolutely justice, fairness. It's the biggest planet that is in our system. It's about expansion. It's about growth. It's about moving to the next level. It's about spiritual studies. It's about philosophy. It's a planet that actually represents expansion. So we have restriction versus expansion, but it's good because the energy of expansion, in order for it to really manifest, there has to be some restriction. There has to be, even in real life. Let's say that right now I have the most yummy cake in the world and I want to eat. How much am I going to enjoy if I eat the whole cake? And how much am I going to enjoy if I restrict and eat one piece of the cake? Right? There's something about the enjoyment or the growth that has to be with restriction, with the restriction of our, let's say, our passion, our desire right now for things to happen. So Saturn represents that side. Jupiter represents the ultimate growth. And the both of them together can bring a lot of energy of balance to our lives, because of the restriction expansion.
The energy of Yaakov, the Tiferet, the balance.
Exactly, the Tiferet, exactly.
Beautiful.
Totally.
Beautiful. Okay. So we're coming into, and the age of Aquarius, you said, is the age of Mashiach?
Yes, the age of Aquarius represents the consciousness of Mashiach, which is for all of us. Guys, at the end of the day, it's not about crazy things. It's about changing the way we think, because our thoughts eventually is what creates reality. Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Everything starts in the thought level. And that 21st of December energy is going to enable us to connect to that understanding.
Which is solstice. That's also a point of balance.
Right.
When things are going to start changing back.
Right. The day and the night, when they're equal.
Yeah.
Everything here is energy of the middle, right? So Yaakov, all that energy is really related to finding our balance, but also remembering that it's not, if I'm in the right consciousness and I do my side of the work, the Creator will participate. It's only about making that shift, and then we have all the ability to get the help. It's not all on us. We have a Creator, and that's the energy that we're connecting to.
In Genesis, Hashem says that he put the stars and the moon up, the lights in the sky, as a sign, not just for purposes, but also as a sign. And I'm hearing from you that this big, powerful sign of balance that's coming up to us, the expansion and the contraction coming together at a time when the night and the day are balanced. And And it seems like that would be the sign that we need to see, that we need to learn from, because we are in times when it's so easy to be polarized, so easy to be one extreme or the other, that this is that we should look up and say, yeah, okay, that's what the sign is telling us, that in this age of Mashiach, we have to.
Absolutely. I love what you say because it's so true. It's like, no, because we all are so much and you know what? In some ways, there are even forces that are trying to get us more separated and more polarized. And we need to understand that it's an illusion, because we need to care for each other, no matter what is our political view, no matter what our religious views. Our religion has nothing to do with anything. We're all humans. And the more we understand the consciousness of unity at that time, the more we're going to be able to be above the chaos of that. Again, whenever there is a very powerful energy, it can go both directions.
So wow, what you're saying really is going in, and I'm hearing it. So Gog and Magog, a lot of times people think of it as a time of war, of opposites, people set off against each other, but it can also be a time of great coming together.
Exactly.
If we really do the work like we're supposed to be doing.
Right. Most of the war now is done.
Yeah.
In the head. Even when you look at war, even if, I mean, yes, I mean, there are places that the war is very physical, but right now, when you look, most of the things are happening in the consciousness level, in the talking level, in the fear level, in the threats level, in the right. And our consciousness needs to be above the fear, to understand that if I do what I'm supposed to do in this world, if I connect to that consciousness of unity, if I connect, that's the Aquarius. The Aquarius is big picture. And big picture means that if I'm just busy with me, it's not what the age of Aquarius is calling for.
You know, it's funny. Yeah, we talk about Gog and Magog, and we're talking about how we have these great tools to come together. We're living at a time when, yeah, everyone's polarized, but we just signed the Abraham Accords. I can go fly to Dubai. I can fly to Bahrain. I can bump into, Bahraini, Emirati Arabs in Jerusalem coming to pray at, pray on the Temple Mount. It's the ability to come together, the ability for friendship. Evangelical Christians who are coming to Israel and loving Israel, which is something I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. There's really a power of coming together that is here for us to be accessed.
Right. The more the more we strengthen that part, the more we're going to be able to create that change in the world. Each and every one of us. It's not to sit and wait for someone else to do that. It's to even start being kinder to other people. It's not to be, oh, this is mine, this is yours. That generosity, care, those things are really gonna work. And this is really what we want. We want Mashiach. We want the consciousness of Mashiach, which is all about that.
And it's very fitting that there will be a sign for Mashiach that comes from these two stars that are opposite coming together. That's great.
Exactly.
That's great. Okay, Rachel, I think my Rav always told me that it's important to leave people wanting a little bit more.
I know, and I am soon, so it's good.
Great. Okay, I'd like to thank you so much, Rachel. Hold on 1 minute. I want to say goodbye to everyone, and we're going to be writing. I'm going to be writing this article down and making sure that everyone will be able to get in touch with Rachel if they want to get some more wisdom from her. And I'll also be writing about other aspects of this amazing thing. Thank you all so much. Have an amazing day. Thank you, Rachel.